Good morning, everybody in Facebook land. So, a lot of change is going to be happening in my world. I'm going to go back to an old schedule in the next week or so, less than that. What was that old schedule? I will have a lot more time to do my book, a lot more time. And that's all I'm going to say, which means that perfect timing for everything. I think all the activity the last year or so has given me a lot of adrenaline and a lot of jogging of the DNA and the hormones to um, contribute to my creativity. So this COVID-19, just FYI, it also will give you back pain or different muscle pain, and I don't, and of course the anxiety. But after the weekend of being exposed to those viruses, because my husband went out to a public place, um, I think like on Monday I woke up, holy crap, like I couldn't move my back, or I mean I could move it, but it was just really painful. Like when I would turn over or turn different ways, I could feel the pull of it. So I still feel it kind of now. And it's definitely, I can see what people deal with when they have chronic back pain. I know this is viral driven, so it'll be done with at some point. But some people have that chronic issue, and I just can't imagine what they go through on a daily basis. It sucks. So, anyways, I am still constructing in my head how I'm going to write this book and start it off, but I know that panspermia really is the beginning of um, the life on Earth, because since there are so many galaxies and so many planetary systems in the whole universe, it won't be that difficult for advanced humans to go and play chemistry and create supernovas, and then also have star formation, planet formations, um, sun formations, like a solar system, and Earth, which is like the perfect distance from the sun, would be like the perfect place to hold life, such as humans, a humanoid type race, and then create different creatures. Because we don't know any other creatures except for the ones that we know now, but we know there's other creatures that lived millions and millions of years ago, and they were giant. They were um, very predatory. They were huge. I mean, we don't see pterodactyls anymore, do we? We don't see the dinosaurs anymore, do we? No, we don't see even the woolly mammoth, though they're trying to probably bring that back out at some point. So, so somebody, something, an advanced race did some kind of panspermia. Now, if you haven't been listening to me for the last like couple months, I use the word panspermia a lot because it's like the rain. Rain is panspermia. Why is rain panspermia? Because it carries microbes. It carries viral DNA through hosts that are either coughing in the wind, or it's some kind of dust particle or pollen particle, or some kind of DNA from an animal that is still viable, because viruses need a host and they can live on surfaces and live in specific areas and some microbiomes for a certain amount of time before it needs to be attached to a host. So if other advanced humans have come to Earth, they will bring viruses with them, as well as their own specimens and things that they want to go and play chemistry with. You could also have comets and asteroids also bring some kind of forms of life, probably way in the beginning when the first plants and vegetation and came to be. And so then when there was an environment to hold animals, then the animals were then put on this earth either. And they say it's through evolution, yeah, but there had to be a catalyst. Like, what was a catalyst of panspermia? Something had to give it the direction, the target, the vector. It's like a specific target thing. Not everything is spontaneous and all of a sudden things happen. There is a specific order and a specific chemistry and intention when it comes to creating an organized life form and the circle of life, okay? And then balance. You have your predators and you have your prey, or your victim and your predator, and they all have to work symbiotically. You can't have too many predators and you can't have too many prey. If too many prey, then nobody is keeping the balance, and too many predators, they're eating up all the food supply. And so somebody who understood physics knew how to incorporate that into biodiversity. Okay. What's a predator to the plants? It's the weather. And so that's why there's different vegetation in different climates. And so there's always a balance based upon the elements, the weather, of course, and the biodiversity all living off each other, and they're all made from each other. Oh, so anyway, so panspermia is like bringing life. Okay, bye, honey. I don't know. I see my husband saying love you. Hold on a second. Love you, babe. Okay. So panspermia is seeding a planet with life and then taking the specimens that are growing, because you know when you go into a lab and you have a petri dish and you have solution and you have bacteria and you have different it's like sugars and salts and different elements, you know, when you take something that already exists and then you put it into a petri dish and you see it grow. Well, Earth is like that. We're like one big huge petri dish, and somebody was growing vegetation, viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. And those were the rudimentary forms of life that then coalesced together with the viruses, directing the intention and the intelligence to create animals, birds, insects, and mankind, and the prototypes for mankind. So that's how the earth was formed, because I don't think it's spontaneous. Yeah, people say the Big Bang. Yeah, Big Bang is just one of many Big Bangs. There wasn't just one that just all of a sudden happened, you know, and that was the only one with Earth. There are many Big Bangs, because if you see like one cockroach, you know there's a million, right? So if there's one Big Bang, you know there's probably been a billion that happened that created galaxies and planetary systems and all of that. So we're not that special. Like I said to my Jelly Juice people, you're not that special. You and I are just alike, okay? We just have different ways of manifesting our predispositions, and our background and culture might be a little bit different, but we're still the same. And we still react to stimulus the same when you think about it. So we're not that different. So somebody had to direct. Somebody, something, a race of beings, Star Trek, if you want to think about it. Okay? All right. So that's panspermia. That's how we were formed. We were formed by advanced humans, advanced humanoids from other galaxies, other planets. I can't imagine the humanoids were really from our solar system. I think they were able to travel from like Andromeda or some other place, okay? Maybe they colonized Mars for like a short time, because that was like a stopping point, like a bus stop. Or maybe they tried to use Mars as an atmosphere to create life and create a race of beings to go in and mine resources, but the atmosphere wasn't stable enough. And so we see probably things like through like the alien, you know, type of stuff, where there's pictures of things that look like faces and pyramids like in Mars and stuff. So, but do I know for sure? No, I don't. I'm speculating. But I can't imagine that there are too many like advanced humans in our solar system. They might be underground. Who knows? I don't know. Okay, but I would imagine that if there's an advanced race, they would be in another galaxy with their own Earth and with their own resources, probably living like we do, but even more advanced, but they're running out of certain resources. So they go to other planets and other solar systems to go and mine resources from other places and create little slaves to do it, because they wouldn't enslave their own race. Their own race is too advanced. It's like, I wouldn't enslave my own family to go and do something. I would go find some other family to go enslave and do shit for me. And so that's probably what happened way in the beginning of time, which really wasn't that long ago. Even 6,000 years ago is not that long. See, that's the thing. And so when we think about just, I mean, the original, like the primate, the original, the first beginning of mankind, or before he became very intelligent, they were here millions of years ago. Even 1,000,000 years is a long time. It's a lot of evolution. If people still believe, if people think things have been, things are that long ago. Some people have an issue with time. They think time has been created to make the perception it was that long ago, to make you think that things were that different. I mean, yeah, they were, but were they really that different? This is where the conundrum of like, oh, is someone creating a perception of time and perception of history, or is it really history? And I can't go there. So anyway, so it's panspermia, and then there's 3D meat. Right now we're hearing about the 3D meat. Okay, we hear about 3D printers, people building guns out of 3D printers. And so creating 3D meat, now don't mind my dresser, I have a bunch of clothes on top. I don't like folding my clothes all the time. So anyway, so 3D meat is like, just like creating a 3D human. You have all the, I'm going to assume, I haven't looked at the mechanics of a 3D printer that prints out meat and prints out things. But if there are specific cartridges that have specific elements that are what makes up the actual object, and there's specific chemistry or a heat temperature or cooling temperature or heat temperature to then create the chemical reactions, then yeah, you could create a human. If you're that advanced, you can create, meat, you can create a gun. There must be there all it is just like a printer that has the cartridges full of the ink, or full of the different elements and the different acids and the fats, the fatty acids, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And then you have the temperature that creates the chemical reactions, and then you have the specific instructions on the model, and when heat is applied, when this is added to it, when this is subtracted to it. I mean, that's my assumption of how a 3D meat is made, and how a 3D printer can make a gun or make anything that you want it to make, even a house, I guess. So 3D meat and 3D printers are probably what was used maybe in the beginning when they were constructing prototypes, maybe, of humans. I mean, maybe they used the prototypes of maybe it was the original, because I'm just trying to think how, well, they take, like, you take, like, yeah, like with a 3D printer, you take the viruses, the parasites, the protozoa, the proteins, the fungus and bacteria, put them all together, and then they coalesce and they create all, I mean, there's that, but that's, now, as a human, intelligent human, there had to have been some original design with a virus. And what is the consciousness? Consciousness, the energy, okay? But an advanced form had to create a human that came from an animal that already had, like a monkey, and then you added more intelligence to it. But how did the monkey come to be? Well, he came from, then that's when there's this controversy, or it's debatable on even where the monkey came to be. I mean, what was the monkey before that? Were they a fish? Were they something? I mean, people say years of evolution, and then you have the creationism, and that creationism and evolution probably go hand in hand. And there's always the argument, well, what was created, the chicken or the egg? Okay. But the egg had to have some kind of intelligent design to then grow up to be the chicken. And so most likely it was the chicken first, which was the advanced form of humans that created prototypes to then cause the egg to develop and then be bioengineered. And that's where it gets kind of like dicey on how you want to, I don't know, talk about it. But chimeric, cancer. Okay, so chimeric is when you're merging two different DNA together and they fuse without one rejecting the other. That's what chimerism is. Okay, people are like, oh my God, that's so like unethical. And I learned about it because a friend of mine a long time ago, when I was on the road with my husband and I was in the conspiracy world, and I was on Facebook with all of my conspiracy friends, and they were teaching me about the conspiracy stuff. And one lady, I forget her name, but she was living in Illinois and she had a book about the New World Order and what their intentions are for the future. And one of, I forget the name of the book, it was such a long time ago, but it was back like in 2011, okay, 2011 to 2012. And so anyways, there was one chapter about chimerism. Okay, it was a chapter about crossbreeding, hybridizing animals and humans, and of course the all the moral and ethical implications of doing that. Oh, should we be doing that? It's been done before. Not that, I mean, yeah, we have the whole Lucy and, or not Lucy, what is it, Dolly and all that, but those are cloning. But in the Garden of Eden, chimerism was riff. You could see all the pictures of the different monsters of the past. Um, we hear about reptilians, we hear about all the different races, and they may have come from different parts of the world and put their stamp, their original DNA into the animal population and also humans. I mean, we came from some prototype and we were then advanced through bioengineering and then programmed through reading, writing, listening to videos, watching things, you know, brainwashed to specific things. I mean, I brainwash myself on stuff. You guys get brainwashed in whatever it is that you read. So different species like the Star Trek put their stamp on Earth, and then we have either homogeneous DNA, which like I'm around my dog and I get her spit and she licks my face, so I get her DNA. Could you detect my dog DNA, you know, somewhere in me if you were to do like a blood draw and look for different DNA from animals that I've been around? Potentially. I never thought about it, but I'm not immune to my dog. She's not immune to me. We both eat almost the same foods. And so I can imagine that there has been in the past the fusion of animal and human, and where they were intelligent and they looked like they were like a reptile, okay? But in a homogeneous population of people who are so afraid of everything, you don't want to have some guy that looks like a reptile walk down the street, because he would be destroyed by the majority. Just think of the people who are different anyways, the transgender or others that cross dress, okay? When someone does that and people are like, "Oh my God," they get targeted. So imagine if somebody was looking like an animal, literally like an animal walking down the street, they would not survive our world. So when you create a very homogeneous world where there's very specific features like two eyes, a nose, a mouth, and a very specific design and an infrastructure to support that design, then doing anything outside of that is going to be like, oh, blasphemy. And then of course the religious folk are going to have an issue with it, though they didn't realize that they were bioengineered in the beginning, and mankind had to go through different prototypes so they got the most correct prototype or the most correct outcome, and then constructed society from that. And that's where the reproduction, the vectors, and the cures. So you could be coming from the Denisovan, you could be like a Neanderthal, which there's not a pure Neanderthal, but there are people with characteristics, DNA, and phenotypical stuff, you know, that are still representing that line. And there's other types of humans, and there might be other types of humanoids that we are not even aware of because either we don't know or it's not been released that there's other types of DNA. But the thing with DNA and with doing gene editing and or what is it? Messing, well, yeah, gene editing and making someone very like doing plastic surgery, or messing with just the aesthetics, like the hair, skin, and nails, and all that, and infusing different people together, like taking one Kardashian to another Kardashian and creating another, prototype, is that it's temporary. Okay, let's say if Kendall Kardashian, she's one of the most beautiful of all the whole family. I watched them a couple of years ago, and then I followed her page because they are bioengineered. Okay, they have been plastic surgery, but if they did the Jilly Juice and they actually purged, there would be a lot of morphine going on. They would be bloated. She wouldn't have the flat stomach. She would have to eat to deal with the viral entities that were put at bay, and um, then having to adapt to then the new viral variants out there. So the Kendall Kardashian wouldn't do the J juice because she would take away, well, the J juice would take away her physique because she would have to then morph to the environment, and that would mean that she couldn't have that hourglass figure and that specific prototype that the modeling industry and the marketing industry are looking for, is someone that people want to attain to, but they'll never attain to it unless you go through the same thing that she goes through, and you'll never do that. So then you keep people wanting, okay, and maybe thinking they can attain that, but you can't be. I can't be 6 foot and so skinny and starving like she. No, 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 no. She's very heavily maintained by a lot of people, and many of us are not. We maintain ourselves. Okay, so those types, like the really engineered, really bioengineered people, the most beautiful people that you see in our society, like Frederick Eklund on the Bravo channel. His kids and his husband, gorgeous. He is gorgeous, and they're bioengineered, but it's temporary. And so those are the deities. Those are the deities, and there's very specific genetics to it. And so when I talk about chimeric, of crossbreeding people, that's the cancer when one DNA is trying to take over another DNA. So you can create a homogeneous DNA that has specific characteristics that you want: blonde hair, blue eyes, tall, fair skin, and long hair, straight with soft curls. I mean, you can order a baby if you wanted to, if you had the money, and people do. And so that baby then has to have a very specific viral platform that must be maintained by biotech, who then cures people in the state that they're in, but they're still able to develop, because Frederick Eklund's kids are growing up, but they look like little angels, like deities, okay? Things that you'd want to worship if they had also other characteristics that you admire, that are missing within you. And so they will be influencers in the future, or models, or something, or educated at the best universities to teach them how to do real estate, or teach them how to do whatever it is that will be put out there for public consumption. Okay, so they're being groomed for something. And so that's what the biotech does, is also cures you in the state that you're in. So you could be, part Neanderthal, part bioengineered prototype, beautiful deity, okay? And you're then put out there to be glorified, and also put out there to do a job. So down to the person who works as, a ditch digger, all the way to the points in between of society, you're in a cured state, and some people can rise above their programming, but it also is painful, okay? When you rise above your programming, when you're trying to penetrate another class, it's difficult, because if you come from one class and you're trying to rise to another class, you have to dress the part, look the part, speak the part, just like, in Titanic, when Leonardo DiCaprio was trying to seem like he could meld in with the upper class, though he's from the steerage. Yeah, you could put the clothes on. People know where you come from. They're going to treat you exactly where you come from. Okay, so you'd have to do a lot of training, a lot of just changing the way you look at things, the way you talk, the way you think, the way everything, in order to assimilate to then a different class of people. And so our society makes it very difficult for you to penetrate other classes, because what you were raised in is usually the station you're going to stay in. And if you're lucky enough, maybe you have enough smarts to go to like an Ivy League college and be exposed to other classes, where they say, okay, you're like an anomaly in your class, but you're showing you have aptitude to rise to the level of us. And that's, those at the Ivy League colleges, where someone gets in on a scholarship or a grant or something because they've shown aptitude that's far more advanced than their peers of where they came from. So that's people escape the small towns they live in because they showed aptitude that they can actually rise above their station. But it would take commitment. It would take a person already having those talents. Some people try to and they fail. They try to go to college. They come from a specific class. No one went to college in their family. Then they go to college. Yeah, they don't finish it. And then they go back to where they came from and they have a bunch of babies and they don't do anything with their life. But they had dreams. But their DNA was what kept them at a specific class, and the people that they hung out with. They couldn't change the relationships. They couldn't change, and get away from what was so familiar. And so that's what biotech does. It keeps you in a cured state for a certain amount of time. And so that's why we have such diversities. We have so many different factions. Millions and millions of factions are in a cured state. They're living less than 100 years and are having babies on top of their predisposition. So the babies are stuck in a class. Some might be bioengineered to rise above where they came from. Doesn't always happen. But they have beautiful characteristics. They look great on social media. People love to put their babies out there, but babies grow into kids. And then kids grow into adults. And then what are these adults going to do with their life? If they only know about very specific things and they have very specific habits inherited from the parents, what kind of future do they have? They would have to be groomed by someone outside the family, or somebody in the family who would have to rise above their own station and advance themselves in order for that kid to get out of their little pond. And that is very difficult, okay? Because a lot of families don't want their other family members to rise above. They want to keep them in their circle because power is in numbers. That's the gang mentality. That's like the mob mentality. That's groupthink. And so that's when you have all these different homogenous things that don't evolve. And so when any outside entity comes in, I don't care where they come from, either California or out there from another world, and they look different, the homogenous society does not accept diversity. And so that's why there's been a real huge controversy around the LGBTQ, non-binary, changing the pronouns. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know what diversity, there's probably a whole lot more you don't even know. If you can't even handle LGBTQ and all of that, then you would not be able to handle knowing that you came from a world beyond this world, that you were created and evolved from a world beyond this world. We didn't just spring up one day and say, okay, we're humans now. Socrates just didn't think of the Socratic method. All of a sudden, he just woke up one day and had an epiphany that he would then learn the logic and reasoning. No, he was taught by a woman who I don't even know where she came from because they didn't say. That's beyond the scope of what the intent of the article about Socrates. It's all about Socrates is the end-all be-all, Aristotle and Plato and all the Greek philosophies are the end-all be-all, but who were the people in Sumer? And we do hear about the gods like of Enki and Lil and An and Anu and Inanna and Nana and Ninhursag, and there's different names for them in different cultures, but the same types of people. Where did they learn the logic and reasoning? Where did the logic and reasoning of math and astronomy originate? See, these are the things that we don't even know, but we know that the human race here on Earth was taught by someone who knew. And they were playing Petri dish with us. And so what Bill Gates is doing, what biotech is doing, is more the same. You just happen to be in your small little lifetime, in your very limited scope of how shit works. You're going to think that Bill Gates is the demon. You're going to think that, Dr. Fauci is the demon. I mean, they have very specific intentions of keeping people in a cured state, and then deficits because you didn't want to evolve. You didn't want to ever evolve. The vaccines kept people at a deficit. The vaccines may have saved your life because evolution could have cannibalized you in utero, but then you were then never allowed to evolve. You were allowed to develop, and you were allowed to be programmed by not only biotech, but by the educational system and by mainstream media, but you were never allowed to truly evolve to the level of your environment because you didn't want to feel pain. You didn't want to feel pain. You didn't want to feel the mucus. You didn't want to feel anything, any electrical event that would happen, and know how to feed it. You never knew how to even deal with it. You never knew how to expel the mucus and how to cough it out and mucus it out. You didn't like pooping. You didn't like diarrhea. You had to use, like, what is it? I don't know, Imodium or other stuff to stop the diarrhea. And they were scared away from salt. So humans were never allowed to evolve. And they were only allowed to be kind of put together like a scarecrow and have manipulations to the hormones, to your immune system, taking out things that you don't want to feel. And so you're never allowed to evolve. And that's why we have the much division in our society, a lot of intolerance. We have the two-party system, the three-party system, the four-party system, a million different religions, a million different spiritual people, a million different offshoots of everything, of politics, religion, and science. And so that's why this virus is going to be leveling the playing field. And so those that are at a deficit, who weren't groomed and programmed to be chimeric, to handle another DNA entity, another viral entity it wants to take over, you can call it a ghost, you can call it whatever you want, because that's like possession. If you're not strong enough to work with new viral DNA, then that becomes a cancer. And so that chimeric lady that has two different DNA in her body, and it happened in utero. Okay, it didn't just happen when she was an adult. It happened in utero. She was her own twin. Okay, that is showing that the uterus and the baby and the fetus with those two different DNAs was able to reconcile the fact that they had to adapt to each other. One was not trying to take over the other. They figured out how to fuse together, how to meet in the middle, and still grow up with still one set of everything. Not two sets, but one set. When someone has cancer, they're at a deficit. A new viral entity is coming in and trying to replicate very quickly, taking up resources more than you can go and replenish, and then attempt to take over your body back again and kick out that entity. And so that's why people get chemotherapy, they get cannabis, they get things taken out, they get surgeries, because they're trying to dig out another entity that's trying to take them over. And so it's a type of chimerism that doesn't take. That's what cancer is a type of chimerism. Thank God I have found another word besides another, like a viral possessive ghost. That's what cancer is chimerism that a person is resisting. Okay? I'm always around my husband. I'm not gonna turn into my husband, but I take on his DNA. He takes on my DNA. We're in a marriage. I don't overtake him. He doesn't overtake me. It's not like we're melded into one human. And so we still take on each other's DNA, but one isn't taking over literally. We're working as a team. When one DNA tries to take over another, that is cancer. Okay, so that's why you see so much cancer in the population, because people are at deficits and they've been in a cured state, never allowed to know how to evolve and feed evolution. And when you feed evolution the meat, the milk, the cheese, the salt, the sugar, the carbs, all of the bioengineered food supply, then you're able to keep that homogeneous form, so to speak, and still evolve and kick out any anomalous, possessive energy that doesn't seek to destroy, it just wants to live. But it's allowed to take over and use the resources in your body that even you can't afford to feed something. It's like taking on, it's like you're making $5 an hour and you're trying to take on children, and no one's helping you, and so you can't afford to have a child making $5 an hour. You can't even afford to feed yourself at $5 an hour. So that's the same thing with cancer, is you're taking on an entity that you can't afford to feed, but they're still eating everything in your food, in your cupboards, but you haven't kicked them out. Taking on, a homeless person, or taking on people who give money to people and they can't even afford to take care of themselves. That's what cancer is. Chimerism is where they both reconcile and they both give to each other. That's the merging and the unification of two separate beings under one umbrella of a human. And that's a little crazy. Yes. Oh, believe me, I'm tripping out on that, but I see it in the bigger picture. Is it ethically and morally okay? Well, it depends on who you ask and what religion you come from. But cancer is chimerism that doesn't want to take. And so that's then why people die from chemotherapy over time. So people die from cannabis over time. All the different therapeutics and all the different cures people die from because they never understood how to evolve and adapt to new viral entities and feed it and still maintain who they are. Because I'm feeding COVID-19 and I'm feeling some of the effects because I reversed all my issues, because I've reconciled all the other past viruses. I'm not a different person. I mean, I am in a way. I'm still the spirit of Jillian, but I'm a newer and improved. I'm not as reactive. I'm definitely more focused. My ability to learn is exponential. It's like nothing can stop me from learning new things, and my ability to adapt to changes. Like I have changes going on in my household right now. Okay. And at first last night, I was feeling like, oh God, because my husband's changing jobs and it's going to change, the dynamics in the house. And it's going to be a welcome thing because I'm going to have more time to do stuff. But it's still a change. And it's still the uncertain. That's what that post about being uncertain, being okay with uncertainty. Holy shit. Okay. I mean, but then you deal with it. You deal, I mean, it's still kind of like traumatic in a very small way, but you're able to get over the trauma and still power through without it just tearing you down. And so some people that can't handle change. And so when change happens, they resist it and they try everything they can to stop the change, but sometimes you can't stop change. It has to happen, and people resist it, and they destroy themselves in the process of resisting it. And that's not what the JJ mentality is about. Is that you're going to welcome the changes in your body, mind, and spirit. You're not going to resist it. You're going to go with it, and you're going to improve yourself exponentially. And so that's why when I asked the question a couple of days ago, is it fair for me to ask someone to give up their religion, especially if they're in like Jehovah's Witness, born again Christian, Catholic, whatever? Because if you want to evolve in this society, you have to start feeding your mind not the old archaic way. You got to start either creating a new Bible with the new future of fusing everyone together and giving people the opportunity to understand the JJ mentality and who God is. You can, I mean, even if you're Jehovah's Witness and you think that Enlil is your God, and you can substantiate the argument that Enlil was much more advanced than Enki, then and you have all the evidence to show, then you can substantiate why Jehovah's Witness or why born again Christian is the best way, and why Christ really represented the more advanced gods back in the Sumerian pantheon. But no one's doing that. They just say, oh yeah, this is an all just a overall blanket God and Jesus and Christ. And you're like, okay, well, I mean, if I died tomorrow and people like the whole J juice, could they deify me and turn me into some kind of thing because of an idea that I had and people resisted it and they took to? I mean, then you're like, well, why are we worshiping some dude who happened to have a different thought process that was probably given by advanced humans, but it wasn't like he was any more special than anyone else? And then the whole, was it dying, reproducing, resurrection? I mean, it's all the same stuff, but it's a different word to make you think that it's different. Resurrection and reborn and pregnant. I mean, that's kind of like your resurrection. When you get pregnant with an entity, okay, like your baby, that's like you resurrecting, because people plan to die when they have babies in our society. So in a lot of ways, everyone's practicing some kind of dying and rebirth through having children. But if you were your best copy, if you were your own genetic line, you wouldn't need to have to carry on the genetic line, because you are the genetic line. You stay your genetic line. You wouldn't have to have a million babies. And you would still keep the mitotic reproduction, which is the cell generation, lengthening your telomeres on a continuous basis, adapting. So I mean, my God, I went off on a major tangent. So anyways, I don't know. I just got off on a tangent. I got to bring this back to where I was before. But anyway, so the whole JJ mentality is to evolve and to stay evolving and to continuously improve upon the prototype. Okay? That's the whole JJ mentality. Immortality is not resisting evolution. Immortality is not resisting pain. Immortality is not starving yourself and making food political. Okay, immortality is knowing the difference between your pet and your food. I am not going to eat my dog's sugar. Okay, my dog's sugar is my pet. Even if I was starving, I would go eat a flippin' squirrel before I eat my dog, and I would feed my dog the squirrel first, and then I would take the scraps because I want my dog to survive. But I would also survive too. Dale, just no questions, okay? No questions. You have to be continuously following me and watching my original videos. And this is way beyond. If you're jumping in the middle, you're not going to understand because you haven't seen the beginning and you haven't probably watched my pin post, okay? So anyways, so evolution is continuously adapting. So when you're taking the vaccines, you're stopping the evolution. When you don't take vaccines, and you don't take your pills and your powders and your supplements and your detoxes, then you're going to feel the symptoms of evolution, the releasing and the taking on new information, cell regeneration, and then you will be that much more advanced. Okay? But the vaccines have stilted evolution in our communities. Not that they haven't created disease. Disease is bodies at a deficit. Okay? But the vaccines have stopped evolution of mankind and kept them in a cured state, of which people want anyways because they're taking their pills and their powders and supplements and detoxes and starving themselves and all of that. But no, this virus was released and has specific characteristics that need to be fed, that need to be supported by the food and the food supply, by bioengineered food, because this virus is bioengineered because humans and animals are bioengineered. So wherever this virus came from, whether it's from a lab or jumped from an animal, it doesn't matter. The animal was bioengineered. The humans have been bioengineered. Labs are just the representation of bioengineering. And so you must support the bioengineering with all the food in the food supply, the GMO, the processed foods, learn how to release, learn how to regenerate and retain, and continuously adapt and feel the heat. And so if you're just coming into my protocol and you're averted, if you have an aversion to pain, you think there's an enemy out there, you've demonized Bill Gates, you've demonized all the different, you're anti-government, you're in the conspiracy world, which I can understand. I mean, I came from that too. But if you already have formulated an enemy in your mind and you don't want to feel evolution of pain, you think someone is out to get you, you're going to have a very hard time with my information. Very hard time. If you're afraid of salt, you're afraid of sugar, you're afraid of meat, milk, cheese, eggs, carbs. If you're afraid of anything, you're afraid of a virus, you're going to have a hard time with the JJ protocol. Because everything that I'm saying is going to go against almost every faction and every brainwashing, every fear porn that's put out there. I'm going to be like completely opposite of whatever it is that you've been following. That's why you're confused, because like I understand what's going on. People can die from evolution because they're at a deficit. But the virus is evolution. It's not supposed to kill people, but it only kills people who don't understand what the viruses are, and who are on their diets, and who don't understand how to feed the evolution, feed the viruses, all the food in the food supply. The salt is what releases its ionic activity, and it also activates then the telomere lengthening. But more salt will cure you. Less salt will then put you in a jellified state, not activating, and then die from lack of activity. And so it's all about balance. And if you really want to understand, just like, I don't know, my book is going to come out next year. I'm in the process of writing it, so I'm getting everything formulated in my head. But read my pin post, okay? Read and watch the videos. This is not for everybody. This JJ is not for everybody. Not everybody can handle the amount of energy it takes to evolve in this society. Not everybody is ready for it. And I know it, and some people don't even know it. Some people will try the J juice and feel stuff, and all of a sudden their predispositions like a heart attack came up. Not because the J juice did it, it's because you already have the viral transducers, and you have the nutrients in your body to go and repair your heart. But you don't want to feel the pain. Because when someone has a heart attack, even when they're not doing the JJ, a virus came through and tried to upgrade the person may had or may not have had the nutrition to go and deal with the upgrade. And so what do? They go to the hospital and they go get bypass surgery, or they go get anti-heart attack medication. I don't know what those are. Or they get calcium channel blockers, because calcium will thicken up the blood because of too much vitamin D. Okay. And that either because they're taking the supplements because their melanin is too dark and so they're not taking in vitamin D, so they're overdoing it on the supplements, or they are very light skinned outside all the time and they don't have the hormone balance to bring up melanin to block the sun rays, and so they're getting so much calcium in their blood that then it causes a heart attack, and so they're taking blood thinners, calcium channel blockers, or if there's something going on with their ventricles or their heart muscles, or there's issues, then they're getting, stents and screws and who knows, whatever, not screws, but you know what I mean, they're getting stuff put in them. Okay. And so not everybody's prepared to deal with what it takes to evolve. It's scary. I mean, even me having this little just like I woke up the other day after feeling the viral transducers, I woke up trying to like turn over this way, and right now if I go like this, I can feel the pull in my back and it hurts a little bit, not horribly, but I could feel it. It's like, and I would have to release some energy, like a sound, like, oh my God. So I know what it's like now for a person to have back pain. Imagine having on not just that side, but then that side. Imagine have that in your neck where you can't move your neck. I mean, I could see why people want to be in a cured state, because they don't understand how to feed that energy. Why do you have back pain, Jillian? That shoulder blade muscle was something that I was dealing with a couple, like maybe 10 or 15 years ago, and I would get like a massage and there's knots. And so I'm sure when I was either as a working at a desk many years, as an admin, and I'm bending over and I'm doing things where it's like it weakens that, or it creates knots. I'm stressed out. And I remember somebody trying to work the knots out one time when I was getting massages back when I was in San Francisco, and they were always trying to work that knot. Okay. And it's the same place where they were working that knot right here in my right back muscle, shoulder, or whatever. So these are the things the predispositions that I've had that the virus is now upgrading. And that's what the JJ's mentality does. It wakes up latent viruses with the salt, and then you have to deal with all the things that were suppressed, that you've been trying to cure yourself from. And then you feed it with all the food in the food supply, because you need the fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, and they are all like a 3D printer. Okay, so right there is like creationism and evolution is taking on new viral programming from the COVID-19, from the COVID-20, from the COVID-20, or the Delta variant, the Delta plus, the Lambda, and then maybe the Marbo virus, or there's another virus that's a hemorrhagic virus that is also being tossed around out there. And so you're going to have, and then the permafrost, the melting of the permafrost. There's been more viruses from antiquity that were stuck in the glaciers that are now melting. That's going to be put out in the universe. And I know scientists are capturing those as we speak, and they're in the labs creating a vaccine for it, because people are going to have a hard time dealing with that new virus that's going to be released and be carried by humans, by animals, because we're still a mobile society. Just because you have a vaccine passport and you're mobile and can go from point A to point B doesn't mean that you're not going to catch some new virus that could be in that environment that's carried by another person who lives in that environment, and then pass to one person, pass to another person, and then you have another pandemic of a new virus, and another vaccine can be made from that. And so then you're like, oh God, this is nefarious, or creating it. No, it's already here. There's nothing to create. What biotech has done has already been on this earth. Okay? And then when you go to space, you're bringing viruses, like the panspermia, the asteroids. They have genetic material. They have, all the viral material that they probably have brought back to Earth too. And so anyone going to outer space is bringing in viruses. Viruses are outer space. It's dark matter. Okay, what activates them is the light, the gamma light. And then biodiversity and all the biology is then the viruses are given a home, a host to go and then do the programming. And then there's also other catalysts that will help support that programming and keeping the balance. And so, I mean, this is a lot. And so I can appreciate some of you who are just started listening to me. This is so intense. This is more than what you probably can imagine. Wait for my book. I will take you from point A to point Z. But right now, if you're coming in the middle, you're not going to really understand at this point. You'll get certain things, but some of you have been following me for a while. You've read my other books that I had out there, which I have discontinued. And so this new book is going to be housing everything. It's going to house from what I think is before panspermia, advanced humanoids that have created, the Milky Way galaxy. And I'm sure you can create galaxies. Someone that knows how to put stuff together, just explosions, just put a nuclear bomb in space and you can create a big bang. And then you can create just like, a break, when you're playing pool and you hit the white ball to hit that triangle of balls, they all scatter. And some will go into the pocket, others will be on the table, then you're trying to, then you're seeing this formation. That's like a big bang. That's a chemical reaction when the person hits the balls on the break and they scatter. And then the galaxies, each of those balls are like little galaxies. Okay? I can imagine that someone had powerful types of jet propulsion or powerful chemistry that they can create galaxies and then create humans. And that's far beyond most people's comprehension, but I'll still take it back to at least the original, the origination of Earth and the inhabitants and petri dishes. But how I'm going to construct it together, well, and then I will take it to then the 6 cradles of civilization, and then Sumer melding into Sumer, the original, pantheon, the Sumer pantheons, then merge into the Greco-Roman Greek pantheon, and then all the religions thereafter, Judeo-Christian, Muslim, monotheism and polytheism. And they all have their offshoots and their ways of talking about it. All right, so I'm going to go, but I really needed to hear myself talk about that, about chimerism and about cancer and about being in a cured state. And the vaccines really never allowed people to evolve, just be in a cured state. And then diversity. If you can't handle the LGBTQ, you will not be able to handle what really happened in the Garden of Eden. What really is out there, okay? Not saying the LGBT are like that, but it's diversity. We're very, very homogenized. But you're going to now figure out that being in a cured state, you can almost do anything with genetics. You can create superhuman beings like the Olympians. You can create beautiful people, very, very ugly people, those that are very disproportionate. Okay? And you really can't say ugly because that's not even politically correct. But you can kind of tell your gut knows about the energy of people. But they're still doing their job. And so when someone has an energy about them and you're feeling something in your gut, but they still perform well at their job, you can't say anything. It's like, if they're not performing well at their job and they're not hurting you, but you have a gut instinct about something or somebody, you have to keep your mouth shut. Okay? That's what diversity is all about, is keeping your mouth shut when you're like, oh, wow, this is different. And yeah. So, all right, I'm going to go. Bye.